Are you concerned about a market crash in 2014? Well, so am I. So join us with Alessio Rastani, the Robin Hood of Wall Street, for a free trading webinar. Learn how to protect yourself and possibly profit. It's on December 5th, 8 o'clock British Standard Time. You can click on the link below or go to leadingtrader.com/2014. I'll be there. Educate yourself and get the edge.
When are we going to see like the social, the protests? We see it happening in Greece. We see Spain with unemployment, high youth employment. You famously went down to the Occupy movement in Zuccotti Park. You went down to the one here. You talked to those people, but that never went very far. I mean, is there going to be like a proletariat uprising where people haven't had it anymore? Because a lot of the things you're saying don't mean a lot to my viewers because they're like, they don't understand all this QE stuff. When will it hit the bottom line where the people will say enough's enough and get some change?
The policies they're pursuing now are making things more difficult on Main Street while they're enriching people on Wall Street. I mean, they're focused on sustaining asset bubbles. And that's making a small number of people very rich, but it's impoverishing a greater number of people because when you don't have these assets, when all you have is a job, and then you spend all your money on food and energy and taxes and insurance, your cost of living is going up, right? The quantitative easing is just making it more expensive for you to eat, or to heat your house, or to drive to your office, if you even still have a job. A lot of people don't have jobs, or now they have part-time jobs or temporary jobs. So people's living standards are going down, and you have a handful of people, relatively speaking, who are benefiting. But it's not the type of wealth creation, because it's not legitimate wealth. In a normal free market economy, where the Fed isn't artificially setting interest rates so low, entrepreneurs get wealthy, but they also benefit everybody else in the process. They get wealthy by coming up with new products and new services that we all consume, and they create jobs for other people in the process. So we benefit through the invisible hand, Adam Smith. But when banks get rich off of cheap money created out of thin air from the Fed, and they get rich by speculating, they're not creating any wealth for anybody other than themselves.
Right.
And where is the money coming from? It's coming at the expense of real investment that might otherwise have taken place that would have produced more goods to consume and created more jobs for Americans. We're not getting that.
You famously went down to the Occupy movement and you said, I'm part of the 1%, but you shouldn't be mad at the 1%. You said you should be mad at the government. And you went down there with a suit and tie and a microphone, and I must say it was very brave. And you tried to have a conversation with some people. What did you mean by that?
Well, I think having the microphone probably was less brave because there was a camera there. So if I was just there by myself, maybe they would have attacked me. But they knew it was being recorded, so it was probably safer to go there with some cameramen and a microphone.
But there were some angry people there.
Yeah, there were.
But what did you mean by that? Because you said I am part of the 1%, but you shouldn't be angry with me.
Yeah, I had a lot of sympathy for the position of a lot of people because they had a right to be pissed off at what was going on. And they were pissed off at Wall Street for the government bailouts. And I was pissed off too about the bailouts because I opposed them. But my opposition wasn't so much on the banks that were bailed out, but the government for bailing them out. I mean, I'm not going to blame somebody for asking for something for nothing, right? I blame the government for giving out the money. That was my money as an American taxpayer that was given to those banks. And it's the government that should have said no. And so if you're protesting the bailouts, you should go not to Wall Street, but to Washington, to Pennsylvania Avenue, to the Federal Reserve, and protest over there, because that's where the bailouts originated. And of course, a lot of the other problems that the occupiers were protesting or upset about, their origin is Washington. It's policy coming from Washington. It's regulation, it's subsidies, it's taxation. These are the things that are undermining our economy and destroying opportunities for young people to get jobs. Washington's doing that. I mean, the free market is trying to create jobs. Washington is trying to destroy them. And of course, a lot of these kids went to college and they overpaid for these worthless degrees. But that's not the free market that did that. That's government policy that did that. Right? They went to government schools. They got government grants. They got government guaranteed loans. And those loans are the reason that colleges were able to charge so much, is because they were tricked into taking on all this debt. And now they're upset, but it's not Wall Street. that got them to borrow all that money. So their anger needs to be at the government. And if young people want opportunity, they need to get the government out of the way. They need to stop attacking employers. In fact, we've got a new Senate just passed in the U.S. Today, although it hasn't made it through the House, but the president's ready to sign it, a new bill to punish employers if they discriminate in the hiring process against gays, homosexuals, transvestites, transgender. Again, it's not that I'm in favor of employers discriminating, but what I am opposed to is new ways to sue employers, to find ways to file lawsuits against employers. Because you know what they do? They stop hiring because they don't want to be sued. Why don't we leave the employers alone? Let people hire and fire for whatever reason they want and let them deal with it in the marketplace.
So less government is kind of what you're for.
Yes.
I want to hear what you say about the banks really quickly. But do you think this Occupy movement will ever get enough steam to make some of these policy changes you're talking about? Like from the kids, from the unemployed youth, from the grassroots movement? Because you're talking about political change.
Well, unfortunately, the change that the occupiers wanted is not the kind of change that we need. They want more government. And I'm confident we're going to get that. We're going to get bigger government. We're going to get more programs. They're just not going to work. They're just going to produce bigger problems, which in many respects is the goal, right? That's the goal of government, is to create poverty and to perpetuate poverty so that you can hold yourself out as a solution. Right,
and get reelected.
Right. If the government breaks your leg and then gives you a crutch and now you can walk, the government takes credit for giving you the crutch. And for somehow they deny responsibility, or you don't even realize that they're the ones that crippled you. All you see is that crutch and that the government gave it to you. Okay. And you don't realize that if it wasn't for government, you could walk just fine. You wouldn't need that crutch.
This week on London Real, we have the king of sound and ruler of beats, Beardy Man.
I see boy stays true to his grandma. Yeah.
You imagine music in your head, and it just happens, which is something that many have dreamt of doing, but no one's ever bothered to try, really. A happy accident can happen that can spur an idea. There's all kinds of crazy technology that people are innovating, mostly in code these days, but there's hardware as well. The next stage that I'm working on, which is all very technologically based, this is something which I've always wanted to do, which is the idea of being able to do what you can do with beatbox, but have it not be shit. I'm still making music in a really twisted, sort of non-logical way that doesn't really make sense. Right now, as we speak, I'm at #2 in the charts with a track I did with Fatboy Slim and Calvin Harris, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever done.
London Real presents Beardy Man, king of sound.
I have a tendency to be kind of obsessive and anxious and neurotic. So I think, I'm Jewish, what are you gonna do?